Hey guys, welcome to Man's Hour, Episode 3, 4th of July special. I'm joined here by four gentlemen of power. First, we got Raging Mandrill. How are you, sir?
I'm excellent. Thank you very much.
Cool. And we're also joined by Charlemagne. How are you, sir?
Feeling good.
Excellent. And then we also joined by the one and only Pete Quinones. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Still got coffee.
And then we got Paul Fahrenheidt. How are you, man?
I'm out fucking standing. Thanks for having me, man.
Awesome, guys. Well, so basically, we're just going to go for an hour here and talk about how awesome America is and how the greatest, celebration of independence goes on the entire planet and rub it in the faces of our friends across the pond. So basically, fellas, what is it? We're from all four corners of the country here. So let's go around the panel here, first with Mandrill here, and talk about, what is it the 4th of July means to you? Is there something you and your family do on the 4th? What's something that immediately comes to your mind?
Mostly food. My family is well known for making far too much to eat on, holidays and get-togethers. So usually there's all sorts of things to eat, like baked beans and hot dogs, hamburgers, just anything that you can imagine. A watermelon, anything that you can imagine is there. So yeah, that's what my family does.
Yeah, awesome. The season of barbecues officially, kicks off in summertime and all that good stuff. Charlie, what about you, man?
Usually, how it goes for me is my friends get together. My best friend convinces his dad to let us come shoot fireworks over his really nice house with a pool and a hot tub. So we do that and just sort of bro down and chill, and just kind of use it as an excuse to eat too much and hang out. Sometimes I go to my brother's house and hang out with him. I'll probably do that this time. Maybe have a really big celebration if we can put it together, actually, because it'll be my last 4th of July in the South, I think. So should send it out with a bang, which of course we will. Shoot some fireworks. I'll have to go pick some up this weekend, I guess.
Awesome stuff. What about you, Pete? How do you like celebrating the 4th of July?
Well, growing up, I grew up right across the street from Yankee Stadium, and they did like a crazy fireworks display every year. I mean, it was big. It was huge. You could see it from, half a mile away. Now, well, that's funny because this is going to be the first 4th of July in a very, very long time. I'm going to be alone and I have no plans because that's just the way life worked out. So I don't know. I'll see what some friends around here are going to be doing on Monday. And if not, then it may just be one of those days that I sit there with the laptop and write, or decide to, I don't know, do a live stream and just talk shit or something.
Yeah, there's definitely worse things you could be doing. So absolutely. Paul, what about you, man?
Well, when you grow up in a neocon land like I do, 4th of July is kind of one of those like holy days in which everyone goes and they do the ritual of the grilling and the ritual of the opening the beers and the ritual of the talking about the good old days back in the service and all of this other stuff. And of course, you shoot off fireworks, and because it's a really highly policed area, the police show up, get mad at you for about 5 minutes, and then they leave. But for me, the 4th of July, it's not so much that day that I care about as much. It's more about the 3 days that come before it. Those are the 3 days that I've genuinely cared about a lot more than the 4th of July. And July 1st through 3rd is for the astute listeners will know, was the Battle of Gettysburg, and July 4th kind of marked the end of that day. I think the largest single casualty producing battle rather on the North American continent. And yeah, I mean that's that's kind of what it's always meant to me. It's like is intertwined with history and with but like living in it, but not like studying it, like living in it.
Yeah, where people always making references to Jeff Bridges sitting on top of the hill from Gettysburg movie, screaming bayonets, and stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, one of the big parts of the 4th of July, obviously, is fireworks and big explosions and stuff. Do any of you guys have any, funny stories or accidental moments, close calls with, fireworks? Because everyone reads on the news every single year, someone, blows off a hand or burns down a house or something ridiculous, when alcohol and fireworks get involved. Anyone got any funny stories?
Oh, I have plenty of stories. Let's see. Probably the most ridiculous one, of course, is never trust a woman with fireworks, obviously, because my friend's now ex-girlfriend, she had one of the big artillery shell things that, you put it in the tube, it goes way up into the air. Of course, she put it in upside down somehow and lit it, and it exploded on the ground, like right next to the whole box of fireworks. And yeah, I can remember that very distinctly because once I saw what was happening, which was just like a split second before it exploded, right? Because you see it ignite and then nothing goes up in the air and you're like, oh shit. And so I just like I was sitting on a bench and I just like threw myself back just by pushing it off of me and got a few further feet away from the explosion. But it wasn't that bad. Like, fireworks, when they explode near you a few meters away, like, they're not really, it's not like they're high explosive, right? But it could have set off everything. So that was pretty terrible. Let's see. This one isn't a great story. It's kind of a sad story. Let's see. We were just like, one of my friends had a Roman candle and he was just kind of pointing it haphazardly and hit me in the sleeve of my really cool vaporwave jacket and burned a little hole in it. So that's a little depressing. I think that same night I actually busted my ass because we were playing this dumb game where we we put like bottle rockets, in this little tube that you shoot the artillery shells out of, and you try to hit it with a baseball bat as it comes out. I would like to blame it on the alcohol, but it really wasn't that. It was just me being kind of stupid. So I did this stupid thing where I flipped the baseball bat around like backwards and tried to do like this stupid anime weeaboo swing at the firework. And that didn't work out very well. I spun around 360 and fell straight down on my ass because the ground was wet. And so trying to do a fancy like spin attack on the bottle rocket was very, very dumb. In addition to, it's kind of dumb to try and hit bottle rockets with a baseball bat in the first place. So I injured myself really badly. That was the worst injury I've ever gotten in my life, actually. So I actually have it on video. I'll have to show you guys. Maybe I can show you after the stream because my friend was recording all of our swings, right? I think one of us actually managed to hit it. But anyway, I braced myself as I fell down with my arm. And basically, I absorbed all the force of the fall in my like locked out arm, and it sort of just put all the force directly into my shoulder, and it didn't really hurt. But the next day, I felt really bad. Like I could barely move. It was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. My shoulder was just the muscles like on my back were basically inflamed and just, I guess, torturing the nerve endings there. And I actually ended up having to just go to an emergency clinic because the pain was so ridiculous. Like it was incredible how much pain I was in just from such a silly little injury. But they gave me like this, I guess probably like a steroid shot or whatever, and it went away almost instantly. So it wasn't like a permanent injury. But yeah, so that was a horrible idea. Yeah, please, if you're going to do stupid things with fireworks, don't like double down and make it extra stupid by doing like spin attacks on the bottle rockets. What else do I have? I guess after Katrina, when all the houses were like all messed up and there were a lot of abandoned houses, we would just like go fuck around on the carports with fireworks and literally just like ignite fireworks that are supposed to go up in the air, like underneath the carports of destroyed houses. That was probably a really bad idea because it could have set them on fire. We were like 15 at the time. We could just kind of do whatever we want. Like,
Yeah,
we
just classic young guys doing stupid stuff.
yeah, so that was stupid. Let's see. Do I have anything else? There's probably some other stuff. But that's all I have for now. Yeah. How about you guys?
Well, I could personally tell one absolutely hilarious. I must have it was like the last I think it was the year before me and all my buddies were seniors in high school. So it was just before we were the big dogs on our campus, as it were. And of course, we snuck some libations and we were having some fun, 4th of July style. And I had this one jackass in our friend group. Do you guys know what those little like M80 firecrackers are? They're like the very small like sticks of dynamite. And he kept on putting these firecrackers and lighting them inside a Heineken bottle to make like a loud noise, and he did it like 6 or 7 times in this bottle, and the bottle, never exploded. But finally, the 8th time he did it, he sits it in the middle of this, a fire pit that we've all got around us, and the bottle finally explodes, and like the glass goes everywhere, and everyone decides to duck out of the way and move everywhere long after the explosion actually went off, so it's like people, delayed action, jumping behind, chairs, just being absolutely stupid. And I'd never seen a group of people move that fast in my life, but of course, it was, if anyone was going to get hurt, it would have happened by then. So, good old classic American fun with explosions. Anybody else?
I have an M80 story. I'm trying to pull this up to see if I can share it, because I want you to see what the park bench looks like. And yeah, we used to do a lot of damage. So hold on one sec. All right, boom. All right. Can y'all see this?
Yeah.
Park bench up here in the green. So those top, the 3 up on top, between the first and the second one down, we all lit at the same time 8 M80s, and we blew the top 2. I mean, I didn't think it was going to happen, but we blew the top 2 pieces basically to pieces, and the outside on the right, that metal, the cement upright was like leaning out sideways. So apparently that's supposed to be the equivalent of like 2 sticks of dynamite or something like that. So that was we were just retarded. I mean, we were just your typical inner city friggin' hoodlums that would just blow shit up. So that's my story.
Classic. Gotta love it. Paul, what about you, Paul? Any funny explosive stories?
Well, I don't really have any super funny fireworks stories other than, just some less funny version of what's already been said with, women and small children and the like. But there was this one instance, all right, in which I'm kind of kill the fun and games, many such cases. But this one instance on the 4th of July in which one of my neighbors, who was a family friend of mine, started telling me the other side of the story of Waco, and I knew the first side already, but when you live where I live, you live around the kinds of people that would have been on the other side of that equation, and it was really, really jarring to hear the way that the people who work in this federal government and all this other stuff talk about it, and that actually, I remember that because it specifically happened on the 4th of July is when he told me like the specific detail. I'm being very vague because reasons that I'm sure people can understand, but yeah, it's a lot more depressing. I also remember one time, speaking to the civic religion of America, I read out the Constitution almost as if it were scripture. And I guarantee you that not a single person I was reading it to understood a word. And I didn't understand a fucking word, but they just knew oh, this is like the holy book that you're supposed to read, and we're supposed to clap at the end of it and all that. Neocons.
Yeah, despite our complete hatred, for neocons and everything like that, it does seem to be intrinsically kind of a part of Fourth of July celebrations. There's always like talking about the veterans and the Great Wars and everything like that, and extreme American patriotism, which sadly is always connected to wars abroad, especially for younger guys like us who, until recently, America has been at war literally our entire existence. So it is kind of depressing to think about that. But how do you guys feel like the Fourth of July celebrations have changed throughout your life? Because definitely for me, like when I was growing up, I've definitely seen it, and I'm 27 now, and I definitely have felt it change, community building wise and all that stuff since I was a kid. What do you guys think about that?
It's definitely changed for the worse, I'd say. Like when I was like a small child, I remember that my parents would take me to, the local parade or whatever it was. And some people would, obviously have like, sparklers and things like that. And, you'd have the local, ROTC program or the local like Boy Scout troops or, whatever local like historical reenactor society, all of these different like civic institutions. And like, maybe just because I haven't attended in a while, but I just like feel that that's basically all gone and it's just essentially hollowed out. But that's just me.
Yeah. Anybody else? How do you guys think or feel that the Fourth has changed throughout your years?
Got fucking gayer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, very true. What do you guys think about the? I saw this theory popping around. One of my buddies actually said this to me, that they intentionally, put the Pride Month, in advance of Fourth of July because everybody's going to be all tuckered out of marches and everything like that to intentionally cut back on, Fourth of July celebrations. What do you guys think about that?
Would that make this Sloth Month?
Yeah, make it something.
And they intentionally put the fucking 4th of July, or not 4th, Pride Month, the fucking in June, so that anything that happened in June, like the D-Day memorial and all of that. I know a lot of guys on this side of things don't like it when I talk about the U.S. and World War II, but D-Day is extremely important to me just by virtue of the military unit I was in. And they put Pride Month in fucking June so that any like major American memorial event or holiday or whatever that happens in June is like overshadowed by this absolute faggotry. And yeah, I mean, I guess to your point about how the 4th of July, everyone's tired of fucking marches by the time 4th of July comes around. Well, yeah, I guess so. June used to be the month that was like the build up to July. That's how it used to be. It was like June was like, school's out, summer's getting started. It's not full in yet, but cool stuff is happening here. And then July is like, oh yeah, 4th of July is like kicking off like for real the summer, like in earnest. And now it's just, it's just stupid.
Yeah, well, I've heard it from good authority that the true Independence Day of America is now Juneteenth. That's what we really have to celebrate, because that's when America was truly free. So,
when I was in fucking Chicago, I saw all these fucking flags all over the place of it's like it was like the U.S. Army unit flag with the blue on top and the red on the bottom, and like this shitty looking star in the middle with June 19th, 1862 right next to it, and fucking. It's the stupid, or was it 1865? I don't fucking know. I don't even remember the date. I can't even tell you the date slaves were freed. That's how little I care. It's just fucking. It's like the pride flag now. It was side by side by the pride flag. I'm gonna try not to use profanity, but yeah, it was everywhere, and I guess it was Chicago, but still.
Yeah, that's a good point, Paul. Because I'm an Eagle Scout by background, and I saw on Twitter a Boy Scout troop that was in a Memorial Day parade that, of course, had the American flag and they're all in ranks like they should be on Memorial Day, marching along, and of course they are carrying the pride flag as well. So it's just all of our symbols and all of the things that we should be patriotic for have basically been co-opted. It's depressing, man.
Yeah, for sure. It absolutely sucks. I remember, when I was a little kid, I grew up in the suburbs in the Midwest outside of a major metro area, and my small little town, always had a Fourth of July parade right in the downtown area, but now it's becoming very, there goes the neighborhoody, and it doesn't have the same, the same social bonds anymore. There was like a BLM march and a Pride march as well over the past couple of years, and a lot of the founding stock of the area are just gone now. And it's kind of depressing to walk down there because a lot of the stores, the old like mom and pop shops, are all gone because of the coup. So it's yeah, it definitely sucks seeing things change.
Yeah, I'm really interested in checking out what it's like in Montana. Obviously, I'm going to be here still for the 4th of July, but I'm curious to what extent there's any sort of patriotic celebration up there. I mean, to be honest, for me, I don't. I haven't really been to a particularly patriotic like July 4th celebration. For me, it's kind of just the day when you shoot fireworks in the middle of the year and you eat and stuff. But it's never been particularly like American, I guess. So I'm kind of curious about that. I imagine it's more patriotic in like the DC area.
Mm, Yeah, there was one year when I was growing up, they opened up like kind of like a veterans like a club in the area around my downtown area, and I must have been like 7 or 8, and they actually rolled a tank down Main Street of this small town, and then ended up parking it in front of this veterans club, and it's still there to this day. But they did that on 4th of July when I was growing up, and it was pretty cool because everyone gathered around and just saw this massive ass tank rolling down the middle of the street.
Yeah, lots of VFWs, which is a famous veterans club. They famously have bars in them, especially in dry counties. It's the only place where people can get a drink in dry counties in the South is at the VFW. And yeah, a lot of VFWs all across the country. We were talking about civic institutions earlier. Well, that's one of them. You'll see all sorts of tanks outside of them, like usually it's some mass-produced World War II tank, like a Stuart or a Sherman. Or if not, some like gun emplacement or something like that. And, that's all out there just to tell the normies, this is where the cool, shooty guys go. This is, I had a quip. I had a quip in my mind about like veteran worship and like civic religion and respect troops and all that, but I completely lost it. But yeah, no. And I mean, Mandrill, you were talking about being an Eagle Scout earlier. Well, I am also an Eagle Scout. And I remember as actually, I do remember one time I was at summer camp over July 4th, and there was a big lake at the camp we were staying at, and they had this huge fireworks show over this lake, and it was actually really great. It was amazing. I have no real words to describe it other than it was fireworks over a lake.
Yeah, another topic I wanted to bring up about all of this. Obviously, 4th of July has heavy overtones with, patriotism and the state, military worship and all that fun stuff. But I also think that there definitely is some kind of importance to be had to have some kind of pride in your country, especially given these days where we're told at every single turn to be ashamed of our nations and our peoples and our ancestors and all this stuff. So what do you guys think is the healthy balance for people like us, for 4th of July, and what do you think we can learn from this moving forward?
Well, one thing that I've been trying to do for years is to separate the government from the people. Talk about how much I love the country, but when I talk about how much I love the country, talking about how much I love the people. Not all of them, of course, obviously. I've spent most of my life living in either bigger cities or cities that were infested by Yankees. And so really like the 4th of July celebration is usually something more like it's like big over the top. I've never done like a small town one where, you know, you'd have a parade, things like that. But yeah, the one thing about realizing that this government's illegitimate, it's, you know, it basically what runs it is being able to differentiate between the government and the people. And you know, it's something you try to do with people, and it's not always the easiest thing to, especially talking to people who consider themselves conservatives or on the right, because they have this automatic default. They've lost like the old right, the Charles Lindbergh kind of, where, you know, you don't go meddling in foreign affairs. Now it's, you know, especially since 9/11, it's you, if the troops go anywhere, you have to support them. And if the government, even Biden's government, says that, you know, Ukraine is being attacked by the evil Putin, that even the people who've been saying fake news for 6 years fall in line and start believing the fake news. So, you know, I think it's just loving the people, especially the ones that you mostly agree, you know, that you have a lot in common with, share a culture with, and keep talking about how evil that state is.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else want to chime in?
Yeah, examining my 4th of July experiences, I kind of realized that I think New Year's Eve sort of overshadows my 4th of July's, and I think that's a problem. I think the 4th of July needs to be properly celebrated as a celebration of the American people, and going forward, I want to sort of keep that in my mind more. Like, I've been thinking about this. One thing I realized lately is that I don't know nearly enough. This is definitely not true for some of you guys here, but I don't know nearly enough about American history in particular. Like, I've spent a lot of time learning over the last few years about, you know, Western civilization, but I need to learn much more deeply about the American people and their history so that I can actually properly celebrate my own culture. So hopefully that's something we can do going forward, is sort of bring the great things about the American people more into the fore of the dissident right, because I think that's severely lacking right now.
I've got an episode for you to listen to, man.
Was it the last one?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a great episode. I got that guy's website up right now. What was it?
Brian McClanahan.
Yeah. I was actually wondering if I bought all 6 of his books, would that be a good crash course education?
Oh, yeah.
I might actually order all 6 of that guy's books and just read all of them.
He is very, very much a Southern gentleman. He is a lover of the South.
Yeah, I really like that podcast. So yeah, definitely go watch the previous episode that Pete did. It might not be directly previous by the time this airs on the 4th of July, but yeah, that guy was extremely based, and I might get some of his books as well. Anyway, we're kind of straying a little from the topic though, but yeah, I think
shameless plug.
I think we need to treat July 4th as more of a sacred day for us.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would definitely agree. Paul, you earlier mentioned how your celebration of July 4th is actually more for the preceding 3 days. Well, for me, and just to go back to our point about American history, like, and the heritage stock, right? Those who were in the country prior to 1865. Well, July 4th also represents another battle, right? If you remember, July 4th is also the conclusion of the siege of Vicksburg as well, which, as somebody who's military related as well, that's strategically much more important than Gettysburg in my view, and it has a personal significance for me because my ancestor was actually in a Burnside's corps, which was present in that battle. So, yeah, it's these sorts of things, and do really have a deep significance for all of us. And I think that if you can't really reclaim the United States or reclaim anything of your heritage or anything like that, unless you can reclaim July 4th as what it truly is, which is a celebration of Americana in the heritage American flavor.
Well, you mentioned Vicksburg. I very recently actually visited the Vicksburg battlefield for the first time during my grand trip across the country. And having visited Gettysburg many times growing up, Vicksburg, I don't want to say it was disappointing. That's not the right word for it. It was more of it wasn't so much a battlefield as much as it was a crater field. And it was a long protracted siege. And Vicksburg is always mentioned in like the second breath after Gettysburg, because you're correct, they both conclude around the same time, and their simultaneous conclusion. Some people say sealed the fate of the Confederacy. I'm not so sure on that, but it's not really the tactical or rather the strategic importance of either. I wanted to talk about. You talk about how your ancestor was in Burnside's corps at Vicksburg. Well, my ancestor was in Turner Ashby's 7th Virginia Cavalry at Gettysburg. So, and he died there, and he is currently buried at the Gettysburg National Cemetery for the on the Confederate side. And so yeah, I suppose it's you're tied to where your blood used to be, and I guess that's why you have the draw to Vicksburg, and I have the draw to Gettysburg. For those two reasons.
Yeah, there's definitely a more of a mythological aura that surrounds Gettysburg. I mean, Vicksburg is like the dirty business that has to get done, right? Whereas Vicksburg is like the glamorized, event that is in film and popular mythology.
I'm finding it interesting, and maybe Pete can speak to this more because he and I are the only Yankees on this stream here. That the 4th of July.
No, mind you, Mandrill is also a Yankee.
All right, so
yes,
so
I'm an unrepentant Yankee.
Unrepentant. Well, I think we all are, but so the fact that Paul, you're definitely attaching more so to Vicksburg and Gettysburg and whatnot. For 4th of July is interesting to me because, up here in the North, the Civil War really isn't talked about much on that scale. It's 4th of July is always attached to the actual, signing of the Declaration of Independence. And, it's just not talked about to that way. So I'm finding that very interesting.
It's because you only fought one American Revolution.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. But yeah, I think this brings up an interesting point, an interesting conversation, much like what Charlie was saying about how, it's important for us to have, July 4th as some kind of, reverent day. And I definitely do tend to agree with that. I mean, it's always been my favorite holiday. It feels like, it's the one day where you can just totally, stick it to everybody else in the world and totally buy into, all the American stereotypes of, guns and explosions and, masculine energy and all that fun stuff. I mean, I know for me, for every single year of my life, I've participated in a bass fishing tournament, on 4th of July weekend, so it's time where it's always had like a masculine connotation with me as well. So I don't know if you guys can speak to that more as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, don't let women touch fireworks. I mean, if you think about the memes associated with the 4th of July, I just think of like, I don't know, that one of like Trump riding a tank or something, and it's just like there's just explosions everywhere, or dude riding an eagle with 2 shotguns or something. I mean, the day is all about masculinity, right? It's about the Declaration of Independence by the founding fathers of America. So yeah.
Yeah, I find that masculine angle very interesting because obviously this country was founded through a revolution and had to be fought and bled and died for, like, from the beginning. I'm not sure that you can really separate, I guess, July 4th from masculine and also very martial like pursuits and symbology. I think that's kind of just tied up inherently with it.
I think one thing that should be talked about is not only the revolution, but what the revolution really was, and it was a secession movement. And I think what I like to do is when I talk to Southerners about July 4th, I always remind them that secession was basically what they were doing. So what the South was doing in 1860 and 1861 was perfectly fine and went along with our history. And, I mean, it's, the two times that there was secession was on the table in the United States, it was war. They had to fight a war. One, to do it in the first place, and two, to stop it in the second place. So, yeah, it's just, I always try to remind people that, if you're celebrating July 4th and you don't think secession is a good idea, then you don't understand what you're celebrating.
To that point, my one of my 15 mentors, Mr. Christopher Sandbach, makes this. I don't know if he's quoting someone. I think he is quoting someone, but I only know him who said it. And he said that the Civil War was when the North declared war on America, and that kind of sticks to me. And that could be, you can kind of see that as meaning two different things. You can see it as either the South, or at least what was then known as the South, as like what the real American spirit was, with the North being a separate concept to America. Or you can see it as one region of the country declaring war on the entire initial concept of the country itself. You'll hear a lot of the neocons and the normie conservatives say, what the founders intended. Well, declared war on what the founders intended. And yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point, and it's true. It's the South fought and declared a war of independence because they believed they were being occupied by a foreign power, which they did not wish to continue living under. And oftentimes, in the cowardly and feminized age we live in, things like honor and living without tyranny and deciding things for yourself and sovereignty are all looked down upon as evil reasons, as morally bankrupt, and as inherently oppressive. So,
yeah, I think that's a really good point that you bring up, because so much of the 4th of July mythos is almost intrinsically attached to boomer truth at this point. It's like, back-to-back World War champs, and people will be speaking German if we didn't do this, and Toby Keith's courtesy of the red, white, and blue can be turned sand into glass, and stuff like that, with all the bombs and everything like that. So I think it is very interesting to bring up the point actually about the Civil War and South secessionism and stuff like that, because it absolutely is attached to America's founding. So I think that is absolutely a good point to bring up on 4th of July. Righto. So what kind of funky little traditions do you guys have with the 4th throughout like the corners of the country? I'm more curious, Charlie, what about you down south? Because you guys got like Mardi Gras and all that fun stuff down there. So is it like still like a crazy and wild celebration with tons of alcohol and everything and people just being stupid, or is it kind of just like any other crazy celebration?
The 4th of July tends to be significantly more tame than New Year's Eve. As I alluded to earlier, there's usually some sort of large fireworks show at the public park or something like that. But people are noticeably more tame on this day than on New Year's Eve, and it's not really like a huge thing, to be honest, which is kind of sad. But so maybe other Southerners have a different experience, but for me, it's become less and less of a thing. Actually, I notice people barely seem to really celebrate it anymore. So yeah, I couldn't speak too much to any particular traditions.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
It seems here in Auburn, Alabama, that we are going to have a fireworks display in the evening, and that's pretty much about it. I mean, there will be like celebrations and everything, but officially, it'll be just a get together behind the stadium, Auburn State. It's called Duck Samford Stadium, and there'll be vendors and fireworks. It'll start about 5 o'clock. There'll be a band or something like that, but pretty much just what sounds like a typical kind of just smallish town get together for the South.
Yeah, I'd be curious to do some kind of research into the past 100 years and see if there was a major shift in some kind of celebrations on the 4th throughout the country, because we have things in America that have been going on, like Civil War reenactments. Are there any Revolutionary War reenactments? Does anyone dress up like the founding fathers somewhere or something like that, or has the whole thing just been conquered by guns, beer, babes, stuff like that, grills, I'd be curious to see how that has changed, or if it has changed.
Generally, I would say in my local region of the West Coast, you do see some people dress up, but mostly it's like like the local like cavalry, I guess, middle of the 19th century cavalry detachment dress up, and maybe you have a couple of boomers who dress up in tricorns and stuff, but mostly not. They don't really dress up in sort of revolutionary garb.
Boy, oh boy, do I got news for you. Out here on the East Coast, it's actually really fucking widespread. You go to Colonial Williamsburg, they've got a big July 4th thing where everyone gets into the, although that's all the time. You can go to Colonial Williamsburg any time of the year, and they'll all be wearing tricorns. But July 4th especially. The problem is that Colonial Williamsburg was a literal Rockefeller Foundation psyop to resurrect a weird semblance of Colonial Williamsburg. Look it up. I'm not kidding. But also, if you go to DC, is it the 2nd or the 3rd Infantry Regiment? I think it's the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, which are the ones who longest continually existing military unit in the United States Army. That's why they're called the Old Guard. They're the unit that guards the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. They do all the fancy rifle drills that you see the YouTube videos of and all of that. But they have multiple units, and one of them is actually a fife and drum band, and they still have standard issue 18th century uniforms from the Continental Army. They still play the fife and drum thing all around Washington D.C. Yeah, you are correct. The 4th is a big deal in the national capital area. You've also got, if you go up to Philadelphia, they've got stuff happening at Independence Hall, stuff up in New England. There's a lot of stuff up in New England for the 4th with the Revolution, because really that's all New England has going for it is their little continental things. Otherwise, I mean, you were talking about small town sort of celebrations. The town my family comes from in the Shenandoah Valley actually does have a 4th of July parade, and I was actually driving through it a couple of days ago, and I saw the decorations up, and yeah, it bleeds over. A lot of it bleeds over. A lot of these small towns will actually have it bleed over with Memorial Day. They'll like keep a lot of them. Well, something you'll notice about a lot of these small towns, you'll see all of these like banners hanging on street posts or lampposts rather, on either side of the main street of each town, and it'll be an individual person from that town, a photo of them and the years they served. So you'll see dozens of these, and that's something that I found unique to these sort of small towns in the Shenandoah Valley and the wider rural South.
Yeah, you do see some of that on the West Coast as well. Like the that's closer towards the actual military bases where like people who are mostly just retirees, military retirees or active service members live. That's really common to see there.
Very interesting. Paul, you were bringing up about psyops and subversive elements and stuff around the 4th of July and everything. And Charlemagne and Pete were talking about earlier about how it should be important for us to celebrate the 4th of July in some way. What do you guys think would be a good way that wouldn't be subverted by gay ops and stuff like that, for us to actually have a healthy way of celebrating America's history and America's founding and what makes us Americans?
Well, if you celebrate the South, there's kind of no way to subvert that. Honoring the Southern dead is definitely one way you could go about doing that in a way that would be really impossible to subvert, because the left simply cannot touch that subject.
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to do it. What do you think, Pete?
Celebrate it with some gun shows.
Yeah.
Some 4th of July gun shows would be a lot of fun. Do that all across the South. Do it in the morning though. Do like just like an 8 o'clock to noon kind of thing, and publicize the crap out of that. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. That would be pretty
try and set the record for number of gun purchases in a single area. That would be pretty funny.
Yeah, I've been at some gun shows. It was just, oh my god! It was where people who had a whole table that just got cleared out. It's so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. You see the videos of like the full auto ranges down in like Tennessee, where everyone gets in a firing line and just unloads thousands of rounds in the span of a couple minutes, and it's absolutely crazy.
I got a buddy up in Birmingham. His friend out near Talladega, he's got a 250-yard range in his backyard, and he's got select fire weapons to play with. And we went out there. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, and it was just I didn't want to leave. I'm like, I just want to move in here. You got an extra bedroom?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
One of my friends was doing some logging today on our property, and it sounds like he's got our range up to 150 yards now, which is pretty cool. So I'm definitely looking forward to that and building that out.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I always tend to do some shooting come 4th of July. So I'll be taking some weapons out there and having a good old classic America time.
I've actually never fired a gun more than 100 yards. It would be really great to get out to like some 300-yard distances or something, where like using an optic actually becomes interesting.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have tons of fun with that kind of stuff when you move up north, man. Like
yeah, there's no long ranges out here. I think there's a paid range that goes up to like 150 yards. You need a membership, but screw that. It's not really worth it.
That's all great, but have you ever shot a 50 cal?
No.
No, but a buddy just bought one.
Yeah.
Nice.
I might buy a single a bolt action 50 cal at some point.
Okay, no, nothing is like the M2. I'm sorry, the M2,
I don't know. The 240 is pretty cool too. That's fine.
I've shot the 240 as well as the M2. I've shot the 249. The 249 is all right. The 240, then you feel like you're actually doing some damage with the 240, but the M2, man. It's the same. It's the exact same fucking weapon system that's been used for like 100 years. I think it's the longest continuously serving. I don't know if you could call it a small arm, but it's in that weird gray area.
the crew serve weapon.
It's the longest continually serving crew served weapon in the I think in the world. And there's a fucking reason for it, because this shit cuts cars in half. I'm not even kidding. It cuts cars in half. It's so great. Oh man, it goes slow though. It goes slower than you would think.
Yeah, it doesn't have a very high fire rate compared to the 240.
It's kind of like not at all very fast.
Yeah.
Grenade launchers are
I
fun
mean,
too. If you ever get to shoot those, they're a bitch to maintain and to clean, but when you get to shoot them, it's really fun.
Yeah. John Browning is somebody we could definitely celebrate on the 4th of July for sure.
Even we can ignore the fact that he's a Mormon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a fun time. Just enjoying guns to their fullest on the 4th of July in all of their explosive and loud glory. There's always a sporting clay competition that goes on in my town every 4th of July. And some people will know this. I mentioned this before. I was a nationally ranked sporting clay shooter. So, from time to time, I'll pop down there, every other year or so and participate in the tournament. And it's always such a fun time, getting the old 12 gauge out there and letting fire to, some clays.
Cool. I haven't shot at clays before. That could be fun to get into. I definitely need to do a lot of training to get my skills up with weapons because I don't really shoot that often. It's been quite a while since I've been to the range. So looking forward to like building that skill set quite a lot.
You don't need a lot of training, a very large amount. Once you initially get good enough at it and you start building up on it, it is we have these things in the military called perishable skills, but shooting is one of those things. It's kind of like riding a bike, really. It some people say, "Oh, Paul, what the fuck are you talking about?" No, but like it really is. You get your weapon system. You understand cheek placement and other stuff like that, and you zero it. You just know that you have to zero a different one every time. But other than that, I mean, yeah, you start shooting out to 300 or even further distances, yards. It really does stick with you, even if you only shoot semi often or rarely.
Yeah, and just from a periodicity perspective, like I mean, at least from the Navy's perspective, like you really only shoot a couple of times per year. So if you went like biannually for all of your different like types of weapons, so like one for your AR platform, once for your handgun, your like twice a year for your handgun, or like whatever other weapon you're shooting, you'll be fine. You'll be just as qualified as the military.
Yeah, well, an incident occurred maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I took one of my buddies to the range, and he was like a World War II gun aficionado, and he didn't really spend much time with modern weapons. And so he brought like his Mosin Nagant and stuff, and we were having fun shooting that. And I took out a Remington 700 that I have, and I use it for deer hunting. It was chambered in 270 Winchester, and he goes to put his face on the scope at the range, and his eye was way too close to the actual scope. And he pulled the trigger. He got snake bit, and he had a huge giant ring around his right eye. We had to take him to the emergency room and get stitches because it whacked him so bad. So,
oof.
Yeah, so that's always
many such cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, many such cases.
Yeah,
most competent Army marksman.
Yeah, so enjoy your guns on the 4th of July, but do so, pretty responsibly, please. So one last thing that I wanted to mention about the 4th here before we wrap up, particularly for guys in our circles, and we mentioned this a little bit. How much do we really want to take ownership of the actual celebration of the 4th of July, like on the actual day, because, many of us, we're obviously not happy with, the global American empire, as we call it, and stuff like that. And, people always go under scrutiny as to, what the founders actually did with, the writing of the Declaration, how the original founding of the country went down, and how come they didn't do this. And, we've strayed so far from the norm. So what do you guys think about that? What is, something really healthy that we can attach to, the founding of the United States?
This is going to piss some people off. But I ask everyone to ask themselves, what do they mean when they say the American people? And the 4th of July ought to be a celebration, as we said earlier, of the American people.
Here, here.
Yep, I agree. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
I know from my neo-reactionary past, there's a lot of criticism of the American founding, but all that is bullshit. America is awesome. America is the greatest thing ever. Every country in the world belongs to America. And we're going to come back and totally BTFO the illegal and evil ruling elite that are currently controlling this country, and totally restore it in the original American tradition for the American people. So suck on that, Brit Bongs.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love it. Yep. So while everybody else is celebrating their average and normal Mondays, the rest of us over here will be celebrating the founding of the greatest place on planet Earth with our explosions and our happiness all around. Any closing statements from anybody?
How about we just celebrate the fact that they won? I mean, when was the last time the United States won anything that actually meant anything? It was maybe that fight. I mean, really, when you think about everything that coming forward, I mean, the War of 1812 was basically a banker's war. Civil War should have never happened. World War I was a mistake. World War II, all of these things were a mistake. It's the first one. And we won outright. I think that's take that as an example that we can do it again.
Yeah. I like that a lot. That's very inspiring. There's always something to be said for, the underdogs. We literally, BTFO'd the British Empire, the greatest military force the world had ever seen at that point. And we were a ragged band of, rebels basically, across the world, using militia tactics and, melting, candlesticks in churchyards to create cannons, to fight off, the British. And it took several years, but we did win. And, it sucked that Britain.
Notice
Redcoats
how
BTFO'd by Kentucky long rifles.
This is true. This is very true. Notice in all the wars that Pete outlined, which I agree with his take on pretty much all of them. He did not include the Spanish-American War, which was completely fucking justified because unabashed imperialism for its own sake is extremely based.
I will stand by this take, and I know it pisses a lot of people off. Teddy Roosevelt is my absolute favorite president, and a lot of people will get mad at me for this, but he absolutely was the most Chad, person ever sit in the White House. So
what do you mean Cuba and the Philippines aren't naturally English colonies?
Excellent.
I mean, I'll stand with anybody who stands for the Great White Fleet.
All right, guys. Let's get some shillings out of here, and we can go celebrate our 4th of July weekends. All the way around. So, Mandrill, anything on shill, man?
Yeah, sure. Check out my Substack, which I just published a article for the December Revolt that our good buddy here, Charlemagne, had requested. And I've got a YouTube channel, which I kind of infrequently post to. I really should post more stuff. I have scripts that are halfway finished. So eventually I'll probably do more stuff with that. But I do stream pretty frequently with, characters in our circles like Prudentialist, like with Paul and American Populist on Ukraine updates and that sort of stuff. So check that out. You can find me on Twitter and Telegram, and I do have a Gab. So check me out there if that interests you.
Cool. Charlemagne, shillings?
I promise I will actually publish a relevant video soon. Other than that, check out my blog, charlemagne.substack.com. My paid content there focuses on specific books. I've currently got some lined up I think mostly that Thomas suggested in his various streams about the CIA. I'm taking a look at the CIA. This kind of goes into what I said about learning our own history more. I want to learn more about the intelligence agencies and maybe help transmit some of that knowledge, because I think it's really important to understand, especially for our movement going forward, how these things operate. So yeah, take a look out for that.
Cool. Pete?
The Pete Quinones show at this very moment, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. I have an episode coming out with my buddy from Japan, Ryan Dawson, where we talk about HUMEC, how Israel stole the nuclear bomb from the United States, basically just stole everything so they could build it. We talk a little bit about Ghislaine Maxwell, and then we get into talking a little bit about Ted Kaczynski and basically what people think his manifesto is and what it really is. So,
All right, cool. Be sure to check that out. And finally, Paul, what do you got, man?
PaulFahrenheight.substack.com, at CavKingPaul on Twitter. Find me writing Thomas's coattails. That's all I got.
All right, cool. And shillings for myself. Follow me on Twitter and my Substack as well. Son of Orion. I'm gonna start putting out edited videos about getting into hunting. Because it's definitely something that I want more guys in our sphere to start doing. So I'm gonna start doing guides for specific game animals. For you to get started on. I'll also be doing streams every now and then on Red Pill and Manosphere topics. So look around for that. And then, of course, Sundays, new episodes of Man's Hour. And also, final shillings. I'll be at Freedom Fest this year. I'll be there for the whole week. So if anyone's in the Vegas area in 2 weeks, hit me up. And I'm considering running a boot camp out there. So hit me up on Twitter, and we'll see what we can do. All right. With that out of the way, thanks for coming along, guys. Everyone be well, and we'll see you next time.